It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. We are live. We're live in New York City, actually. Live from New York. It's another YouTube show. Pete Sousa Show. We are on the road. We're in New York for the Strength and Numbers Camp. Strength in Numbers. Strength in Numeros online. What that camp is it gets underrepresented kids, minorities, opportunities to work in sports. You know, so often we see a lot of the players on the field, right? They may be mixed race or minorities, but like you look at front offices, like how much real opportunity is there for people who don't play these games, right? There's not really a ton. So the camp I'm involved in now, I'm actually a board member. One of my best friends in the world, John Tobias, started it. And we're going to Major League Baseball. Then we're going to go to NBA headquarters, And at both of those stops, there'll be panels where these kids can actually, these campers will see people who look like them, right, that work for Major League Baseball or work for the NBA. They're going to tell them about access and opportunity. And it really is a cool thing to see these young kids connect and realize, hey, maybe I can do this too. So being a part of that, I'm on the board with John. I just kind of help with some advisory stuff. And then tomorrow I'm going to talk to the kids about play-by-play, right? We'll get into some of the old play-by-play work. And I do some fun exercises with them. I'll just tell you real quick, an exercise I do is you welcome up a young kid and you say, okay, you're going to be the analyst and I'm going to be the play-by-play guy. And I walk them through what an open would look like. And then I'll just say, okay, you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are looking live at Madison Square Garden on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Through the turnstiles they come. Can the Knicks come through today in Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls? We will find out here in moments when the ball goes up. Welcome inside, everybody. I'm Pete Sousa alongside whoever it is. And then I give them an opportunity. I tee them up for their analysis. It's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. That's actually tomorrow. But today we are presented by Slovacics, like we always are. And we are also going to do a quick open, probably like 5-10 minutes. And then Scotty's going to take over the rest of the show. But I would be remiss if I didn't come on here and begin after thanking Slovacics, also Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Socorro Family Ford, Crawford Austin Properties, got an interesting note about them coming up here momentarily. As you can tell, I might be a little under the weather, but we play through it. And of course, Extraco Bank, First National Bank of Central Texas, working on, hammering out a deal with a gambling company, which would be pretty cool. A big one, too. I'm looking forward to that and sharing that with you when the time comes. Okay, it wasn't just us. Yesterday, I sat here and Scotty and I talked a lot about Jerry Jones and the absolute circus that took place Monday morning in Oxnard, afternoon for us here, whether you're Central or Eastern time, when Jerry Jones talked to the media, and it was a lot of pop, circumstance, a little bit of entertainment, some drama, some knee slapping, not a ton of football, an antiquated general manager talking about a football team that has not gotten to an NFC title game in more than 30 years. That is obviously the longest stretch in anybody for any NFL team making a conference championship. The Micah Parsons stuff, particularly inflammatory. Micah is at camp. Yesterday, he voiced his concerns, saying, hey, look, and he went down the list. He goes down a list. You guys have seen the clip. And as he's saying, hey, J.J. Watt got paid. You hear Trayvon Diggs is in the background like, yeah. Everybody, he says, that has gotten the big check and has been taken care of. You just hear Trayvon Diggs going, yeah, or like teeing him up, which is just amazing, right? And I don't like, Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL, certainly at his position. And I'm not enjoying, if I'm a Cowboys fan, what Jerry Jones does to his best players. He puts them on the defensive all the time. And it's different with Dak Prescott because Dak is like a member of the get-along gang, right? Like he's not really going to speak out. He's not going to be too much of a prick. This is going back last year during their negotiations. But Micah Parsons is just a different guy, and he's going to speak his mind. He spoke it yesterday, saying what I just told you, of course, paraphrasing, and then basically was like, look, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. I understand there's business decisions afoot here. And if Jerry has to do what he has to do, that's fine. But then he said, and this always drives me nuts because we're talking about a guy who's going to make, I think, $45 million this year, something like that. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's an astronomical figure, who's looking to rework his deal. Then you hear from Micah that he's got to feed. Like Jerry has to take care of his family. Micah's got to take care of his family. Okay. Now we're drifting a little bit. Everybody's drifting. And this is an issue that pops up, right, when you have this drama around these ancillary things that are everything but football, right? Like, I would rather Micah Parsons doesn't say that, because there's a guy in South Dallas who's going to work right now, heading to his second or third job, right, to try and put food on the table for his family. I don't mean to be like wet blanket perspective guy, but like that's kind of true. It doesn't help Micah Parsons, and his likability. However, there is quite a possibility that everybody is so disgusted with Jerry Jones that nobody bats an eye at a comment like that, which I think is probably more possible than the latter. A couple things that I think we're overlooking when it comes to Cowboys camp, and then I'm going to get to a wild theory I have about Jerry Jones and being general manager. Just taking some notes this morning. Micah Parsons was in camp, right? He's not like a holdout. Like in the truest sense of the word. So that says a lot about him, by the way. Also at camp, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, throwing together, working out on the field, and looking really good. And George Pickens spoke to the media afterwards and talked about teaming up with CD and, hey, this could be like Mario Brothers. And there's a real excitement and real optimism around those guys. And the investment that the Cowboys have made in their offensive line through the draft, to me, is promising, because the Cowboys defense with Matt Eberflus as a new defensive coordinator, but I'm not going to sit here and say, like the DC means everything. I mean, Dan Quinn obviously did really well. I thought Mike Zimmer was great. Last year was terrible, but I thought it was going to be great. And now this year you got Matt Eberflus. I mean, look, the Cowboys are not short on big-name defensive coordinators coming through town the last 3 years. Matt Eberflus is exceptional. My buddy Dave Steck, DC at Missouri forever, who I called a game with last year for ESPN, he was like someone who worked with Eberflus for a long time, I think at Mizzou, and man, he loves that guy. As a coach, X's and O's, brilliant, and Steck is brilliant. I mean, Steck was the DC at Missouri forever for Gary Pinkel when they were like exceptional. And even bottom line is, I'm doing the old name dropping, whatever. But I've heard from many people around football that Matt Eberflus is the real deal, and Coach Steck will go on the record and say it. So I look at Dallas, and I hope they have just enough defense, and I hope they have a lot of offense. And that, to me, could lead to a winning recipe for this team. Now, what do I mean by that? The Cowboys need to score points. They couldn't score points last year, so they were constantly behind. This is basic 101 football, right? When you're behind, okay, you've lost all leverage offensively, and you're on your heels. And especially defensively, you're on your heels, because if the other team has a lead, we saw it in the Ravens game last year, early in the season. Ravens go up big, and it's just Travis Henry, just right? Right down your throat. And that is something that I think the Cowboys have got to avoid this year. And I think scoring points early and allowing your defense to work with a little bit of house money, right? 7-0 lead, 14-0 lead, 10-3 lead, where you can pin your ears back and get after the passer. That's when the Cowboys are at their best. And they have gotten better offensively up front. And they have added George Pickens. And I'm excited about the Maffa kid and also Blue. So there's, like, with all the noise and the drama going on and the smoke and everything over here, which is so ridiculous, right? You think you would want your media, your fans, to focus on the positives. I mean, you don't have to say, look over here, this is positive, and it's a fib. No, it's true. Your offense has gotten so much better. You got a new DC, right? You're healthier on the defensive line. Mike is coming back. You lose DeMarcus Ware, but there's still all the tools you need there to compete and to win a division title. Truly. We talked yesterday, 7.5 points or 7.5 is the win-loss over-under total for the Cowboys. I think that's ridiculously low. So I wanted to just talk about that. You've got some positives there. Okay, last thing, right? I'm sober, off alcohol and all that for more than 13 years. We'll be 14 in November, God willing. So I called my one of my AA guys. Guy's got 30 plus years of sobriety. And I asked him this question, okay? And Jerry Jones, I'm not saying Jerry Jones is an alcoholic or whatever, but in the program of AA, there's a lot of accountability. And you bounce stuff off people, right? And the feedback you get, it's based on principles. It's not based on like, oh, well, here's what I think, okay? So I was talking to an AA buddy of mine, and I said, this is before the show, I said, if Jerry Jones was your AA sponsee, right? There's a sponsor and a sponsee relationship, kind of like a mentorship, sort of. I said, and he was asking you, because we don't really hit people over the head with suggestions. It's not what it's about. I always say it's promotion by attraction. But if Jerry Jones came to you as his AA sponsor, Jerry Jones is not an alcoholic, by the way, let's not get sued here. But this is a for instance. And he asked you, do you think I should sell the team? Am I being selfish? And in a word, and this dude is like, I consider him like a spiritual giant, just seeing the whole field. He was like, yes, I would tell Jerry Jones he should sell the team. He's being extremely selfish. He has hundreds of thousands of millions of people counting on him to do the right thing and to make the Cowboys the best possible product on the field they can be. And he's not doing it. Deep stuff. Deep stuff. The Pete Sousa Show. We'll turn things over to Scotty. I'm sure we got some great content coming for you, but wanted to get you some fresh content today. God, I have so much other stuff on my mind, but as you can tell, I'm like a little under the weather. So I got to get ready, head over to NBA headquarters, strength in numbers. I can't wait. I'll post some pics of the kids at the camp and all the cool stuff we're doing. But strength in numbers, strength in numeros online. And on Twitter, but really check it out. It's amazing. And if you have if you have a kid who's, wants to get into sports, doesn't know how, feels like it might not be possible because of maybe their race or, they're underrepresented or they're a minority who feels like they don't have a chance, I'm telling you got to check this camp out. And if you're curious about it, just DM me. It's not just a camp, it's a movement. But any questions, hit me in the DMs, all right? Go Cowboys. I really am pulling for the Cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, so I got to ask you about your Cowboys, our Cowboys. 1 p.m., I think it's Central Time today. Jerry is going to speak to the media in Oxnard. You'll be in Oxnard August 3rd to the 6th when things really heat up. What do you expect? I mean, what should we expect from Jerry today, sitting alongside Brian Schottenheimer and I imagine Stephen Jones?
Well, Jerry generally takes these things over, as you know. So, but this will kind of be, all of these things have been Schottenheimer moments this offseason. So this is a chance for him we've certainly, in fact, he's been on our podcast, which Rogue Media Network produces, the Doomsday Podcast. Mosley, that'd be me, and Ed Werder that are part of. And so Brian Schottenheimer has been a guest in the past, and we'll see if he's on at this time. But I think, there'll be a lot of questions. Obviously, everybody will be looking to see Micah Parsons was supposedly going to go up. Tomorrow's that first practice, even though he's kind of holding out. It's not a very good holdout because it may be kind of a hold-in type situation. I don't think he's really doing a good job listening to his agent, which Jerry loves. Jerry loves this kind of deal where he's got a guy that can't stand being away because it means that Jerry has a little bit of leverage over him. But except for, I promise you, no matter how long he holds out, I mean, he's going to end up getting something insane like, 42, 43 million a year. to play edge for the Cowboys. He's going to get more than TJ Watt. So it's so silly, like everybody waiting on this thing, because we all know what it's going to be. But yeah, I think that'll come up. And I think everybody will be kind of trying to get at, what Schottenheimer is trying to get out of this camp and what he wants the message to be and how he wants to set the tone. This will be a big, even though Jerry will probably talk the most, this will be a big Schottenheimer day and kind of getting that era started. And, we'll see. I mean, he's proven to be pretty good and pretty engaging. So I think he'll be fine in his format. But I think you got Micah Parsons, and that's going to kind of be the early big story going on. Although there was this little side story about which one of my colleagues kind of got going about this Jaden Blue, this running back.
All right, this is where I was going next. All right, so your boy Glenn Stretch Smith says that Jaden Blue's work habits, from what he's hearing, are suspect and borderline lazy, in quotes. And what's the merit to that? What do you make of that? I got to get your take on this.
Yeah, well, it's I think Stretch, who you just referenced, who is a longtime friend of mine,
former Cowboy scout.
He's a former Cowboy scout and coach. He coached for Switzer, and he coached with Switzer at Oklahoma back in the day. He played at Texas. He learned a valuable lesson. I think every once in a while, and I've had it happen to me, you kind of start talking on a podcast and everything, and then all of a sudden, that when you see that, like, one quote come out, even heard Scotty Scheffler talking about it after the British Open, people not understanding what he meant because they try to take a small bite of it. So I think Stretch was interested. Now, there's safety in numbers. Now others have come out and said, well, yes, I had been hearing that same thing. You know how reporters do, Pete? Yeah. And Scotty, they're like, I knew this, but I just, I can confirm this. Like, okay, just let him have his little scoop or whatever. But I don't know what they exactly make of this. I have looked into it and kind of delved into this guy's past. I mean, I tend to think, let's just look what he did in college. And he was pretty remarkable for a lot, especially last season. So I don't really read too much into this, but boy, if this doesn't light a fire into him, I mean, that's not fun to show up as a rookie and you already have people questioning your work ethic. Yeah. And so, and if you look kind of closely, at this guy's background, Stretch is pretty interesting. Jaden Blue moved his senior year of high school, and from what I can understand, just did not play his senior year. Like I try not to this was a long time ago now, so I don't think he should be. It's like these people that say dumb stuff on Twitter when they were 16. Yeah. I don't make too much of that stuff, but I would say there's a little bit of a troubling history of a guy maybe not desperate to put in the time. Let's put it like that. I would not. I don't know. As far as that comment you said, because I think we have to be careful with wording and phraseology. Especially in the climate we're in, it's not probably a great. And I'm not even saying Stretch said it. It was more like maybe he was quoting somebody else. Yeah. But I think that this guy probably will come to camp very motivated to kind of show off and show everybody that he has been working. So again, if he comes out in the preseason and looks great and runs for a lot of yards, then this will be nothing. If he if he struggles or gets hurt early, then this will stick with him for a while. And that's the way this thing will unfold.
I hate to drill down on this, but one more question for you, because you know Stretch just about as well as anybody. Is it out of context for him to say something like this? Like, that's not really who he is, trying to drum up stuff like that.
No, you're right. I mean, he usually is just trying to kind of bring insight, but he does know people with the Cowboys organization. And so I would just say that it was not my podcast. It was that do with Word, or it was on some kind of locked on thing that, Cam does too. Locked on Cam, where you just kind of go around writing the craziest headlines possible. It used to drive me nuts. And Cam would come up with something, Baylor rips, Aranda rips somebody. It's like, Cam, just settle down a little bit here.
No, I always say, hey, Matt, real quick. Here's always, I do an impression. Like, ready? Like, is Baylor going to leave the Big 12? Is Dave Aranda taking a job at HEB? Locked on Baylor's next. Like, that's how they start. It's like, okay.
I mean, I get it. You got to get up there in the algorithm, and man, I need Scotty's help doing all that. I've decided soon I'll be making some announcements, and I'm just gonna take over some algorithms. I don't even understand what that is, but I'll definitely be kind of jumping in the middle of some algorithms. And I may end up like Cam and I'll be trying to tell Scotty, let's come up with the wildest headline possible. But no, that's not really like Stretch. And that kind of made him uncomfortable that suddenly he was being quoted in all these stories out there like a source or whatever. I think he was just trying to kind of shed light on the deal. And Stretch is funny because, like, he played at the University of Texas, but he's kind of a harsh critic of everything that you would think, oh, they're riding high, back-to-back playoffs, Sark, he must love Sark. And he doesn't really have that mentality, Stretch, a guy who played tight end at Texas. Can you imagine him, 1983 or whatever it was, like 6'7", lining up at tight end? I mean, that really would have been
an exciting time to be a college football player as well, too. That's probably really cool.
Yeah. And by the way, he's tried to fight me before, and that is just scary. Like, one time in typical Mosley fashion, he used to help us in Dallas radio, and he was in there on a conversation, and I heard him say something a little off color. And I, being me, made a loud comment, like, hey, could we clean up our language around here or something? And I think he ended up chasing me down the hall. Like, I'm not talking about being funny, like ready to crush me. And back then I was in my early 30s and pretty quick, still had some pretty good quickness. And so I was able to, even though my nickname in college, by the way, was Slow-Mo, but it really wasn't about my speed. It was just the rate I did everything, talked, moved, everything. But yes, I was known as Slow-Mo in the Figam house, even though we didn't have a house.
What's your favorite? I want to ask you one more pertinent, like, Cowboys, like, now training camp question. But what is your favorite memory of covering Cowboys training camps? I always look back on, and I don't think you were there for this. You might have still been in college, but the Dale Hansen, Barry Switzer interview where it got really hot, that one, I just remember reading about that when I was younger. Or like, the Everett McKeever one with, Michael Irvin. Now that was, you weren't there for that. Like, nobody was. That just came out afterwards. But, like, was there a moment for you that became unforgettable?
Well, I mean, I just was there for the first several years. I mean, I was there a lot over the years, but I just, the things that come back to me all involve Bill Parcells, because I started on the beat 2003, his first year, and he really got forced by Jerry to have T.O. there. And so that was a circus. And, I kind of, at that point, had formed a decent relationship with T.O. Like many of my relationships, that would eventually go south and have him threatening me from a podium after the game. I say threaten me. He was just like, I saw what you said. I heard what you said. It was after a win, the Cowboys win. And there was like, 100 and something reporters around he was on the podium, and he starts saying, I heard what you said, Matt Mosley. I heard all that stuff you said. And of course, we turned that into a promo. It was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me. But, and he had some weird Cleveland Cavaliers player with him, Damon somebody. I always forget who that was. He was really good friends. I don't think it was Raja Bell. I think it was Damon. I just can't think of a little guard. Yeah, Damon Jones was hanging out with them, and one of them was looking at me out in the locker room, or right in the hall outside the locker room. And I think it was T.O. was saying, he was doing his shoulders up, and he was saying, "What you gonna do, chump? What you gonna do, chump?" to me. And I'm literally looking at him like, yeah, you think I'm gonna like fight T.O.? Like I may be dumb, but I'm not insane. So anyway, but all that T.O. experience, and I just remember calling Larry Lacewell, who was Jerry's when he signed T.O., and he gave him that great line. He said Jerry would sign Charlie Manson if he could catch passes or something like that. I was like, and he tried to get me not to use it. I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. That's too good. That's too good. We got to go with that one. But so anything T.O. related, and then I'll give you one more. I forged a relationship in 2003. I think it was during camp. Larry Allen was not, who would go on to be in the Hall of Fame. And sadly, we lost Larry in recent years. But Larry was so out of condition that he couldn't practice early on. He either didn't make weight or couldn't pass the conditioning test. And so every day he was on the bike. And so I was with the Morning News, and we turned it into like a Tour de France type thing, Tour de France. And I would go over there, I'd give daily reports of like how he was doing on the bike and what Larry was up to. But Larry got kind of a kick out of it, and he didn't talk to any reporters. I was the only reporter he would ever talk to in those early years. And then it got ruined because he was holding out one year from workouts, and they sent me over to his house. And that did not go well. I had to go knock on Larry's door, and that was not great. But yeah, that was interesting because you had you had a Hall of Famer in Parcells, and you had a Hall of Famer in Larry Allen, and they did not see eye to eye. And Larry had a certain way of lifting weights. He wanted to do, and then Bill had in his mind, what's that weight, clean and jerk kind of thing, that kind of lifting.
The Olympic weight.
Yeah, he liked to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Larry liked other stuff, maybe just the bench and other things. I don't know. I mean, Larry was, he could bench something like 600 pounds. I mean, it was incredible. But they didn't see eye to eye. So I had a front row seat to all that. So I guess those are some moments that come to mind.
All right, realistic expectations for Dak Prescott coming into this season. I mean, I don't know what to expect. Do you?
Oh, I think he can put up huge numbers. I think that now the problem is, as you well know, he's going to be in a division with two very likely MVP candidates. And it's just, that's hard. Of course, the Eagles and the Commanders quarterbacks. I think that, but I think he's going to put up enormous numbers, and I think Pickens. They got Pickens in a great spot. He's in a contract year. He should take some of the pressure off CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they have the makings of a very, very exciting passing game. And even they have somebody, and that'll be a story you read about in the coming days. They have a backup tight end who's challenging Schoonmaker, and they think he could end up being like a big-time threat. And that's this Brevin Ford, I think is his name, kind of a hyphenated deal.
Okay.
And this guy is going to be one of the fascinating stories of training camp. So all that to say, whatever number, what's the huge number now for NFL quarterbacks in a year? 4,000?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the big one? I remember
when I was a kid, if Joe Montana threw for 2,000 yards, that was a ton,
Oh, if you want to have fun, go back and look at the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Like college quarterbacks that you thought were good, and they'll throw for, 1,300 yards, 18 interceptions, and like 12 touchdowns. And you thought these guys were like great. Like, man, my college quarterback was awesome. And you go back and look at these numbers are so bad. The passing game was horrible.
But so you think Dak has a chance to put up huge numbers. Now this is the last question for you. Defense, obviously the Cowboys needed a lot of help. Also, they needed a lot of help up front. Seems like they got a little bit of help through free agency in the draft. But if there's one guy on either side of the ball, right, that is going to be extremely impactful and can help really turn the tide in these areas of need, who would it be? Give me someone on offense, probably up front, that can help stem the tide and move this team forward, and then a defensive addition that you feel like can change things.
Well, I mean, some of these players on defense are going to be, you don't know when they're going to show up, but that Ravel, the cornerback, I mean, whenever he's ready to go, man, because I don't know, this Diggs thing would scare me if I'm the Cowboys. Like, he's so important to them, and there's some weirdness going on there. I mean, he's mad at somebody, and they're holding back on some of the money for him because he didn't do the stuff in the off season. There is some real weirdness going on with him. So I would say, even though he's a third-round pick, that may be arguably the most important rookie on the team. Now, the new, they got all these Tylers, right? And the one that came from Alabama, that's huge. And I think he's going to be solid. Huh?
Yeah. The offensive guard.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's going to be, extremely important. So there's a couple of names. I do think Tyler Smith needs to emerge. They've lost Zach. Zach Martin has retired. In recent years, they've now lost, Tyron Smith's gone. He'd already been gone last year, but you've lost the huge leaders of your offensive line just over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And this Tyler Smith kind of needs to be the guy. Everybody's ready to move to this rookie, but I think this former Tulsa Mauler type player, I think he's capable of it. I think he's been embracing it. I think he's talking even more to the media, even heading into this camp.
Yeah, he said just yesterday that the expectation is a Super Bowl, which I think is
Yeah, he's fine. I think he's good. I think you need to look at him, and then this team, no team in the NFL loves putting together a nondescript group of running backs like the Cowboys. It's just like, who can we get that was good like 4 or 5 years ago? Like, that's who we want. We don't. Yeah, have they been good in the past year or two? No, sir. But were they good like 4 years ago? Yes. Let's get them, and that's what they do. So I just think they don't seem to care about that position, which is so weird when you've had so many greats over the years, and the fact that the running game across the NFL has become. I mean, look at what the Eagles did last year. I mean, my gosh, look at what Saquon did. It's crazy that you would keep going into the season with such a lackluster type thing. So maybe, who knows? Maybe Stretch lit a fire under Jaden Blue. You know, on the offensive side. Well, yeah, I just hit the offensive side. So
Yeah.
I think I've given you plenty.
Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Our research-backed bioavailable formulas are crafted with your health in mind, ensuring the highest quality and safety. From preconception to pregnancy and beyond, we exceed industry standards with independent testing for harmful contaminants. With our comprehensive practitioner directory, personalized care is always within reach. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at fullwellfertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. We use the finest materials like Italian top-grain leather, known for its durability and luxurious feel, and apply meticulous attention to detail in every piece we create. Our replicas are crafted with the same care and precision as the originals, but a price that makes them accessible. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. Using advanced tech fabrics that are 100% waterproof, UV tear, and abrasion resistant, we ensure lasting durability with hand-sewn double-stitch seams. Our commitment to quality, precision engineering, and customizable options is unmatched. With vertically integrated operations and express shipping, we deliver premier protection at affordable prices. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoaalusa.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Nine days away from preseason football. 9 days, dude. Yeah, it's going to be the Lions and the Chargers. The Lions are a favorite. How many points? I think it's 4 or 3. Yeah, but that's the Hall of Fame game in Canton. And right now, Well, Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. I was trying to think of a clever segue there. But Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame, I think, as of 2016, and rightfully so. But as we know, it has been 30 years since the Dallas Cowboys even went to a conference championship game. Mom, what are you doing? Just do whatever you need to do. All right? We're rocking and rolling over here, Mom. There's nothing you can do to throw me off. She's making her coffee. 30 years since they've been to an NFC title game. Now, there's a story I love to talk about. That's just a quick reminder. I was doing a basketball game for ESPN out in Tempe, an Arizona State game. And I did a bunch of games out there. And I was always like, Pat Tillman was a heroic figure to me. We're right around the same age, and everything that he did, so patriotic and so brave. And I always loved Pat Tillman, especially because of the way he played football. So I wanted to see the Pat Tillman statue in Sun Devil Stadium. So I go to Sun Devil Stadium, and I go down there, and I get on the field. And you're looking around now. The stadium has witnessed some improvements, but it's still a college stadium. And I get over there by the Pat Tillman statue, and I take a picture, and I'm very reverent. It's like I'm kind of getting like chills. And Mom, does that have to make that much noise? What is that? Jeez. I mean, what is? Anyways, okay. So I'm in the stadium, right? And it occurs to me, I know, yeah, bear the truth. We'll get there. It occurs to me that this stadium, Sun Devil Stadium, a college stadium, is the last place the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. Like, they don't play Super Bowls in college stadiums, right? They play them in like 100,000 seat shopping malls and just the most beautiful venues on planet Earth. They don't play them in, no offense, rinky-dink spots like Sun Devil Stadium. And that is a reflection of how far we are from the success that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys staff, they like to romanticize about. And there was a little bit of that yesterday, right? Jerry Jones in his opening press conference from Oxnard, California, all knee slapping, a lot of shits and giggles. Everybody's having a good time. I see it now. Guys, and I apologize to Cowboys fans all over the country. The frustration has just got to be mind-numbing because I was looking, November, season 2 of Landman begins, right? Great show, right? Great show, which Jerry Jones made a wonderful cameo appearance in. But I swear to God, it's like fiction in Oxnard yesterday. Like, it might as well be Landman season 30 without a trip to the NFC Championship. And I again, there is a frustration watching this press conference yesterday that winning is not as important to the owner of the Dallas Cowboys franchise as it is to the fans of the Dallas Cowboys. And why? What's the number one example of that? Well, the fact that the 82-year-old general manager and owner of the Cowboys is the general manager and owner of the Cowboys. How many years? 36 years Jerry Jones has been the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I did a little extra work here this morning because I'm fascinated about the fact that he's still the GM. And I really wanted to take a look and say, you know what? How big of an issue is this, right? Like, let's look around the league. Let's get some context. So there are 7 general managers right now in the NFL that have been in their role for 10 years or more, okay? Here are the top 2. Jerry Jones, we mentioned, 36 years as general manager of the Cowboys. Then Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, right? 34 years as general manager of the Bengals. He took over in 1991. Not a one. Neither of those 2 guys have a Super Bowl in the last 10 years. And we know the story, right? The Cowboys don't have one in more than 30. Let's go down the rest of the list, okay? The third longest tenured general manager, Mickey Loomis, with the Saints. Super Bowl, check, okay? John Schneider with Seattle. since 2010. Super Bowl, check. Howie Roseman with the Philadelphia Eagles, 15 years in on his job, started in 2010. Super Bowl appearance, Super Bowl win, check. Les Snead with the Rams since 2012. Super Bowl, check. James Licht with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl, check. All of those general managers have achieved the summit in professional football over the past 10 years, let alone the last 30. Okay. And you see, Jerry Jones was asked yesterday, and I want to get into some of the notes and the highlights of this opening press conference. And then Scotty's got some points he wants to make. Oh boy, he wants to make them. He's like that tag team wrestler standing outside the ring, waiting to get tagged in, and you're just stomping back and forth. They're so mad. So we'll get to him in a second, but there's so much that was talked about yesterday, so much drama, so much non-football stuff when you're getting ready for the football season. Now, number one, of course, we talked to Cowboys insider Matt Mosley yesterday. You knew that Micah Parsons would be an issue and something that would come up, right? And Jerry couldn't get out of his own way. Asked about the Micah Parsons deal. First of all, he immediately harkened back. He threw Dak Prescott under the bus and Micah Parsons. And he said, just because you said, I wrote it down here. What was the quote? Just because you sign them doesn't mean you have them. Yeah, that's it. And then he went on to say that Micah Parsons missed 6 games last year. That's not true. He only missed 4, but I get that. People screw up. He also called him Michael Parson. But again, 82-year-old man. I'm in my late 40s, mid 40s, let's say. I forget names and butcher them all the time, and it's my job. So, but it is kind of like Michael Parson. No, it's Micah Parsons, and he's probably your best player. So he said, Micah missed 6 games last year. Remember, that was just 4. And Dak missed 1/3 of the season. So even though if we sign these guys, we don't know that they're going to be available. And then he went and he said, because people were asking him why he's waiting. He said, do you think we should have waited on Trayvon and Terrence, right? Terrence Steele, I think, and Trayvon Diggs, who is that situation is a mess right now. Trayvon Diggs has been docked $500,000. That's a de-escalator on his contract because he didn't spend the required amount of time rehabbing at the Cowboys facility. And it seems like more and more, he signed a 9-figure extension in 2023. At the end of this year, I guess, next offseason, it's very possible the Cowboys will just get rid of him and save actually $15 million by doing that. But and Jerry, here's when we hop in the time machine now. Jerry talked about Trayvon Diggs not being around the facility, and he said, hey, Dion didn't like to get in the weight room, but I told him, I said, hey, it's important that you're around. And Dion understood. That was kind of like a what? And I got to say this too. I've gone on record, not that me going on record is gonna, shatter the earth, but I love Jerry Jones. I love what he's done for football. I find him to be a total character. He's a shrewd businessman. He's an amazing dude who's obviously accomplished so much in his life and through hard work and shrewd business deals. He's made bad decisions. We all have, but I really respect the guy. We're talking football now. This is football. Jerry Jones is very smart, but we're talking football stupidity. And right now I got him at a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale because he just doesn't seem to get it. He seems very unaware, right? Then that moment when he compared, I think it's Terrence Steele and Trayvon Diggs, right? And there was even another one, Jalen Smith, right? That's another bad contract, that was thrown in there. And so he's saying, I don't feel comfortable about, signing Micah, or I'm thinking about it because these types of things can happen. It's dude, that's the dumbest shit you could say, because it would almost be like if George Young, the general manager of the Giants, and Bill Parcells were huddling up to do a renegotiation with Lawrence Taylor in the late 80s. And they said, well, hey, we re-signed Lionel Emmanuel, and he only had 40 catches last year. I don't know. It's those aren't fair comparisons, dude. You're talking about the best pass rusher, probably outside of Watt right now that's active in the National Football League, right? Dak Prescott, look, we could debate this, but like you had to give him the money. So don't compare those guys to a couple dudes whose contracts haven't worked out. That's not common sense. That people can't relate to that. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors, right? And then we go to the Parsons thing back again when TJ Watt is retweeting. Scotty, let's throw that up there. This is TJ Watt's tweet. I'm sorry. And this goes back to what we mentioned about Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott missing time last year and being big high money free agents and just high money players. Here's JJ's tweet. Anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins, you just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are they got hurt while fighting for you. Like, that's the truth. And then Micah, of course, because he's slick and I love him, retweeted that with nothing. You know, there you go. Michael Parsons reposted, you know. So it was another, like, I pull for the Cowboys. I pull for Jerry Jones because I live in the DFW area, right? And it's also, the NFL is better when the Cowboys are good. And you're talking to an Eagles fan. Scotty and I are going to jump into the logistics of the NFC East in our next segment. But I'm not done with Jerry Jones yet. Another thing that he mentioned and spoke about was that he doesn't talk to agents, right? Like, Jerry does not do agents. And he didn't speak with Dak's agent at all last year when that huge deal was in the works. You think maybe if he did, it could have expedited the situation a little bit. Maybe if he was a little more committed, and he didn't turn it over to Steven and this guy, Adam Paleska. I'm sorry if I got his name wrong. He's like their capologist, who apparently was like in the restaurant industry before this. He's like one of Jerry's guys, you know, like a West Texas dude, you know, whatever, a guy that Jerry trusts. Like, that's life, that's business. But like, if I own a business and I put Scotty in charge of something, and my business doesn't do well, an entire nation of fans don't give a shit, right? This is different. And this is where I get frustrated with owners that don't, I don't want to say Jerry doesn't take winning seriously, because he obviously does, but he's not willing to make the sacrifices personally to put his team in the best position to win. A sacrifice would be, hey, I got to step back, right? Clearly, this team would operate better if there was another general manager, right? And it wasn't me. But he won't make that sacrifice. So he's kind of sticking it up the ass of the Cowboys fans. These teams are public trusts, right? Like we say, like they're, you know, it is, you should be very grateful if you own an NFL organization, you know, and I know you fight and you claw and you scrap to get it, but these are organizations and outlets who can completely change the face, the vibe, and the mood of your entire geographic region, right? So it's important and it's understood that you do everything you can to make that happen. And if a personal sacrifice is part of that recipe, then goddamn it, make the sacrifice. But we're too busy knee slapping, talking about Landman yesterday. And I'm not saying it's not cool to have fun and to laugh, but it's also like kind of shitty to act arrogant and better than. It's frustrating. And then let me see if there's anything else I wanted. Oh yeah, just a couple other notes. Cavante Turpin, you know, he got arrested for marijuana and some weapon stuff. He, of course, has been in trouble before, but looks like he'll just face maybe some internal stuff from the Cowboys. That kind of remains to be seen. And I'm trying to think. Oh, the one last note I made was one more just like theoretical note. While Jerry Jones is waiting around, kicking these big money contracts down the road, he's doing it at the detriment or to the detriment of his team and their depth. And that's a shame, man, because so often we see with the Cowboys that you have these star players who people come to see, the star players who end up on the billboards, right? On the commercials. But like, who do you have that's doing the dirty work? And sometimes these contracts negotiations and their length and the time that the Cowboys organization can waste on them, I think that really hurts the rest of the team and the team's depth. A positive, right? Let's end with a positive. Phil Maffa, the kid from Clemson, apparently is kicking ass. Practice is in session now in Oxnard, right? But like Mosley and I talked about yesterday, Jaden Blue, he responded yesterday and just gave laughing my ass off why people would waste time writing a BS article, which is like good for him. He said something, whatever. Again, like all that stuff, we'll find out on the field. But my overwhelming theme and what I came away with after watching that conference yesterday was that if I was a Cowboys fan, I just wouldn't feel important. I wouldn't feel like the owner of the team cared about how winning affected me. And at some point, it almost gets like, it's almost like bullyish, I don't care. This is my team. I'll do what I want. You're kind of saying to the fans, like, screw you. I'm rich. And I'm not saying that that's the kind of guy that Jerry Jones is, but that's the vibe you can get watching some of these press conferences. Now, look, prior to last year, the Cowboys had 3 seasons where they won 12 or more games in the regular season. And they did a good job in the offseason adding to the offensive line. I'll be interested to see what happens defensively this year. That thing yesterday left a bad taste in my mouth.
He can't make up his mind, dude. Like, he wants to go back and forth between giving Ezekiel Elliott a new contract, giving Dak a super friendly contract, giving, back in the day, it was Des Bryant. He really gave some friendly contracts. Like, he wants to be like family with these guys, but then every now and again he does what he does. Well, we don't even know if we're going to have him. Well, he might get hurt. Well, maybe he's like Trayvon Diggs and he's not worth it. And I'm like, dude, like, as a Cowboys fan, I'm like, pay this man. This is easily the best player on this roster. Like, who else is this good at football on the Cowboys roster? Maybe CeeDee Lamb at peak. Maybe, but probably not. Like, this is clearly the best football player on your team.
Well,
and that doesn't mean he's irreplaceable. Like, everybody's replaceable. You can go get another good pass rusher. You can draft a good linebacker, whatever. But, like, if we're not going to pay Micah Parsons, but we're going to pay Dak Prescott, and we're going to give Ezekiel Elliott a contract last year, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we actually doing?
Like, dude, and this is how I wrap it up, right? Like, love Jerry Jones, what he's done for the NFL, right? But there's one thing that everybody can agree on, whether it's the person who's working on your car at Jiffy Lube or getting your lunch together at Jason's Deli, dude. Like, they all agree, just like, let's say, Mike Florio does, or Phil Simms, right? Some of the brighter minds that cover football. Everyone agrees that he shouldn't be the GM. Like, everybody.
Everyone.
The guy at 7-Eleven and the guy writing for Sports Illustrated. Like,
correct.
It's just like, it's time, man. And if you care about your fans, you should step aside. And you could still have say-so. I mean, like, you don't. I don't know, man. The whole. It's my team. It's tired. It's over. It's selfish. It's not a righteous thing to do. And I'm not saying that businessmen always need to be righteous, but like, he hasn't flirted with this team for a very long time, and good for him. But if there's one issue they've had, it's winning in big situations, and he's got to turn the or he's got to pass the mic. But I don't think he will. I mean, Jim Rome said it yesterday. Like, the only way, he calls him Jared. Jim Rome, I love, but he's like, yeah, Stephen Jones will take over when the crypt keeper takes a dirt nap. I'm like, all right, that's a little much, but I get the point.
But he can take a lesson in this, Pete, from his own city. There's a reason Donnie Nelson was working in the front office for the Dallas Mavs when Mark Cuban was the primary owner. And it was to help with all these personnel decisions. Cuban was still in all of those conversations. Cuban was the best way to probably say is like the de facto GM of that team. But Donnie Nelson was making basketball decisions, not Mark Cuban. Jerry Jones could very easily do the same thing. Bring in a guy like I think of a John Lynch in his role right now with the 49ers. Bring in a football person to make the football decisions. And Jerry can step in with some of the money stuff. Like, I don't think any of us think that's crazy, but it should be a football person in that room, which we all agree. Like you said, the guy at 7-Eleven agrees. Jerry Jones is not. Get a football person in that room to make that decision with you, and maybe even to make the final decision with you having some monetary input, but he's too prideful to do that.
All right, Scotty, I didn't know you were going to bring so much to this discussion, but man, I'm a better man for it.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.